Okay, this is Stu Schaefer, and we're about to talk about why weight loss gets harder. Sometimes you're going to do a diet, and then all of a sudden it works in the beginning, and then it doesn't work anymore. And then you gain the weight even though you haven't changed anything. Or you get older, and as you get older, you find that it's like all of a sudden harder and harder to lose weight. What the crap? Why does this happen? We're going to explain that. Really quick, let me show you an example. I worked with a client named Betsy. Betsy, very, very smart doctor. She had done the traditional style of weight loss all through the years until she couldn't lose weight anymore. She had something called RMS, which we're about to talk about. And as soon as she started eating more, and she started eating the right food at the right time in the right combination, she was able to lose 26 pounds in 12 weeks. Very easily, actually. And she was even eating stuff like ribs and hot dogs, and I'm not kidding when I say that. You can ask her. All right, so what happens? Most people get stuck in something called the vicious cycle. So what happens is this. Let's say you start off weighing 150 pounds, and you want to lose 20 pounds. So you lose the 20 pounds, and you do that by restricting calories and eating less and exercising more. Okay, restricting calories and exercising more. Well, then all of a sudden you get down to the 120. But you know what? All of a sudden, it's like you start gaining the weight back. You get back up to 150, you do it all over again. Go to 150 to 120. This time it's harder, and every time after that it gets harder. Or maybe you do something like intermittent fasting or keto, and you go, wow, this is amazing. And in the beginning it works, and you lose weight, and then all of a sudden you stop losing weight. You hit a plateau. And then the weight starts going back up even though you're not eating anymore. You haven't changed anything. This is the vicious cycle. And what happens to cause the vicious cycle? Something called RMS. This stands for Repressed Metabolic Syndrome. What happens is you shut down your own metabolism. That's all it means. You repress your metabolism. Now what happens is super easy to get fat and super hard to burn the fat. In fact, what happens when you have RMS is when you eat, the food you eat goes straight to your fat cells, straight in there, for various reasons. The wrong hormones are firing, the wrong enzymes are being produced, and so it's very easy to store fat. Then when you exercise, your muscles actually haven't gotten the fuel they need, and the fat cells are kind of locked up. Now, I have a whole video that explains these chemical reactions and how it works. You want to watch that for sure. Posting it right up here. So now when you exercise, you can't get that fat, so you actually burn muscle. And this perpetuates the cycle. So the less you eat and the more you exercise, the worse you get until you get to a point where you barely can eat anything just to maintain. And any little thing that you do, any cheat, whatever, you put weight on very easily. Now, I'll tell you, most of the people that I work with, when they come to me, that's where their body is. This is where most people are. And you can reverse that. You can heal it. They all do. And they lose weight phenomenally well. But here's what causes repressed metabolic syndrome. The first thing is low calorie. If you're cutting calories. Now, if you're still counting calories, restricting calories, like I say, that's a way to lose weight, but it's the worst way to lose weight. I have an entire video right here I'll post where you can look at that explains why calorie restriction is the worst way to lose weight. That will shut down your metabolism so quick. And this is what most people do, is they'll cut calories, they'll lose weight, then they hit a plateau. So they have to cut more, then they lose weight, then they hit a plateau, then they cut more. And everyone thinks, oh, the less you weigh, the less calories you need. And that's not true. It has little to do with your total body weight and a lot to do with your resting metabolic rate, or BMR, basal metabolic rate. And that is heavily influenced by how much muscle you have and how much you're eating and impacting your metabolism. A lot of people out there will say, well, if you want to lose weight, just take your weight, multiply it times 10. Well, let's think about that for a second, okay? If you're a woman and you weigh 130 pounds and you multiply that times 10, and that's supposedly what you're supposed to be eating in calories, that's only 1,300 calories. That is so little that is almost always going to cause your metabolism to drop. And so you might lose weight initially, and then you'll get stuck, and then it'll be so easy to gain that weight. If you can lose weight without restricting calories, that's how you want to do it. And you can. You do that by eating the right food at the right time in the right combination. The second reason you'll cause repressed metabolic syndrome is if you do a low-carb diet like keto or some of these other low-carb diets. And what happens is when you're not getting enough carbs, your T3 levels or your thyroid will kind of drop. This will cause your metabolism to drop as well. A lot of times if you're not eating enough carbs and you're exercising, we're going to talk about that. If you're exercising too much, that'll actually cause you to burn off muscle, which will also slow down your metabolism. So that's not good either. Now, of all the experts out there, the health and fitness experts, it's virtually unanimously agreed on. That means everyone agrees on this, is if you don't eat enough or you exercise too much, your body will shut down or reduce its own metabolism. This is a survival mechanism so that in times of starvation and famine, you can actually survive. And it's great for survival. Thank goodness we have this. It's just bad for weight loss. So you can trigger this by not eating enough calories, by not eating enough carbs, and also by doing fasting. Essentially what you're doing is starving your body. So when you're not eating all day, and I'm going to go 18 hours without eating, then I'll eat all this food in this little tiny window, that is actually signaling to the body that you're starving, and it's going to drop its own metabolism. This is a problem. Now, it also cranks up your cortisol. And a lot of women have heard that cortisol is terrible. It's not terrible, but it can prevent you from losing fat. Initially, cortisol actually helps you burn fat. Cortisol is actually necessary to burn fat. But the problem is too much cortisol, if it's elevated for too long or too often, will then switch and it'll prevent you from burning fat and it'll actually cause you to burn muscle. Well, when you're fasting, this is why a lot of people, when they first do fasting, they go, well, this is great, and they burn fat. Because that initial spike in cortisol does have a fat burning effect. The problem is pretty quick thereafter, now it reverses and it prevents you from burning fat, causes you to burn muscle, and then your metabolism also shuts down and you get repressed metabolic syndrome. Then it becomes almost impossible to lose weight. Your energy tanks, you can hurt your thyroid, you can throw your hormones out of whack, you can enter menopause early because you're putting so much strain and stress on your body. You have to be careful of that. The last one is if you're exercising too much. Or it could be a combination of these four things, by the way. If you exercise too much, it has the same effect as if you're not eating enough. Your body will go into a starvation mode. And you can overstress yourself by exercising. So it has the same effects as these other factors where cortisol goes up, metabolism goes down, stop burning fat. You might even burn off muscle. This sets you up to fail. It will always set you up to fail. And this is why so many people yo-yo. The problem is, over time, they say, geez, what used to work doesn't work anymore. Why has it gotten so hard to lose weight? This is what's happening. You're creating repressed metabolic syndrome. Now, when you eat, it goes to your fat. And when you exercise, you're actually burning off muscle instead of the fat. And it's awful. It's a very vicious cycle. Like I said, it's a trap. You've got to reverse this. You've got to get out of that. And that's specifically what I do when I work with people. But you know, the way you do that is you've got to eat more. You got to make sure you're eating carbs. Stop fasting and don't exercise too much. Well, when you eat more, you have to eat the right food, obviously, but you also have to eat it in the right combination at each meal and at the right time. When you time it correctly and you combine foods correctly, you can eat a lot more. None of it will get stored as fat. Instead, you'll fuel your muscles. You'll crank up your metabolism again. You'll reset your body. And this is what allows you then to burn fat and makes this obsolete. Now it doesn't get harder. The longer you do it, it actually gets easier because your body's getting better and better and better. Your metabolism is getting faster and faster and faster because you're not starving yourself. Okay? This is critical. So this is the typical trap that happens. And if you've been in this trap or if you experienced it, welcome to the club. Most people have, because most people are using calories as a means to lose weight, and that's not the best way to do it. Now, in the next video, we're going to talk about how do you make the weight loss permanent? And it's not what you think. This is going to really shock you. And this is why I would say probably at least 80%, but probably even closer to 90% of people yo-yo, and they can never maintain their progress. I'm going to explain what's really happening and how you can create permanent weight loss at any age. So I'll see you on that video. Hope this was helpful. Take care.